Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flix Show. My name is Chris Wong. I got a bunch of DC updates to do for you today, and mainly a lot of it has to do with the entire film industry. So it's a big one, controversial as well, but we have to talk about it. But before we get into the films, I have to talk about the Titans. Titans apparently filmed Joker today. This is actually coming from Toronto Filming. They said, filming update, DC Titans have been spotted around St. Joseph Street. We've received a report that around U of T, one of the trailers says the Joker. Wow. So that's nothing new. I think I've even reported that there were rumors, and Omri, Kea, come on, Vulcan Reporter, they've talked about it. Daniel RPK talked about it. They're always on point on Titan stuff, and they definitely said that Titans is definitely season 3 is definitely going to have Joker in it, and they're going to even tie in the death of Jason Todd in that before he turns Red Hood. So they're definitely tying in the Joker into it, and this is exciting. We finally get to see. We don't know who. They don't know who it is. They couldn't see who it was. They don't know who the actor who's playing Joker, but definitely the trailer does say the Joker on it. And so I would like to say, yeah, that's probably happening right now, and I can't wait. We're going to have the Joker on Titans. We're going to have the Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League. That's awesome. There's another way we can probably see Joker as well, and that could possibly be, David Ayer's Suicide Squad, right? We have yet to see his version of the Joker, and I would very much like to see it. Release the Ayer cut trended the other day fantastically. All the Ayer cut fans have really made that go up. That's awesome. And David Ayer seems to be not done with the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. So I'm still hoping for that, Christmas announcement, but we'll have to wait and see. But in any case, David Ayer himself put up this post, this vague post, doesn't say anything, but it has Belle Reve Security Housing Unit per team. It's a drawing, of course. I don't know if it's part of a storyboard or a concept art that he had thought of, but he had put that out, and in any case, it is definitely referring to David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad. And I gotta say, this would be a very smart move, like all the other smart moves that Warner Brothers has done in terms of trying to, get things onto HBO Max, like Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the recent movies, like Wonder Woman 1984 coming up, maybe the controversial decision for 2021, but they definitely need content for HBO Max. So it would be smart and not very much amount of money. I think David Film Junkie and Stephen Colbert says it's probably be like maybe less than $5 million just to, put this thing together and release it on HBO Max. That's not bad, right? And if you could get fans over on that side, more people subscribing to HBO Max, why not add another movie to that library of there, right? So I think it's a smart decision for them to just put a little bit more extra into this and get it released on HBO Max. Whether or not it's going to be before Zack Snyder's Justice League or after Zack Snyder's Justice League remains to be seen. In any case, I think it's still a good back catalog thing that they could still plop down for measly less than $5 million, because these big corporations, less than $5 million, less than an episode of Game of Thrones. Get David Ayer's Suicide Squad on HBO Max. So please release the Ayer cut indeed. And let's talk about movies now, since we're talking about movies. Wonder Woman 1984, like I said, didn't have much stuff at Brazil CCXP, but they did showed a clip on the MTV Movie Awards. Now, I kind of showed this in the last video, but I had to trim out that segment entirely because Warner Brothers does not like to be have that clip actually playing, so I'm not going to actually play it, but I will show you that little picture of it, and I'm not going to move it at all, so don't cancel this video, Warner Brothers. But I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and what I gotta say is basically it's cartoony. in that sense. I think it's different from Wonder Woman, especially the running. It felt cartoony, like a Roadrunner kind of thing. But there are aspects that I really like the bullet going past her, and she looks around, and then she lassos it with the lassos the bullet. And I've never seen that before, but it looks like she has in full control of her lasso this time around. She had it before, but even more so. I think she's perfected it in the how many years since the last movie, right? I think it was like 70 something years or something like that, since when we first see her in World War I. So she's definitely gained a lot of strength. She pushed the truck, and she's running just as fast as the vehicles. So you clearly see that she's a lot stronger, a lot more powerful. But I can see how people are reacting to it like it's something really cringe or cheesy. But I like to say, when I'm looking at it, especially when the guns, the enemies are firing on the car, it really does remind me of those old 80s movies, those action movies. They're really over the top. And so if she was really going for that type of action to bring up those 80s nostalgia, then she really did, because that's what it was like back then. It was cheesy at times, it was cringe at times, but back then it was awesome. And that blockbuster fun I could totally see in this clip. So if that's the direction they are going for, and I clearly see that is a direction, then I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty fun, because my mind has just went back to the 80s and how that was going to be like, how filming was like, the movies like that were over the top stuff. So if that's the case, then I think I'm in for a pretty good ride. So that was a Wonder Woman 1984 clip. I won't show it to you. I can't even play the song. It had the Hans Zimmer score in there as well, so that was cool as well. But definitely looking forward to the movie coming out this Christmas. But that whole Wonder Woman thing being released on HBO Max clearly had, upset a lot of the industry, but not as much as when WarnerMedia has released all 2021 films simultaneously with HBO Max. But it did kind of stir something Patty Jenkins, because over the weekend she was kind of talking about how WarnerMedia, she's unclear about the industry right now. She doesn't think that they're greenlighting anything, and then she doesn't think that they'll want to do the Amazons or even Wonder Woman 3. And when she was filming Wonder Woman 1984, she had a sad feeling like this was it. This is the last time I'm going to have to work with Gal Gadot on Wonder Woman. But clearly it seems like WarnerMedia really wants Wonder Woman 3, and they really want to keep Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot around. This is from Film Updates. Now, this is in regards to a bigger article that I'm going to go over, but WarnerMedia had to pay tens of millions of dollars to Gal Gadot and the other key players of Wonder Woman 1984 to placate them after the film moved to HBO Max and avoid upsetting them, because the company wants a third film in the series. So to that, at least one side of the party is very definitely wants Wonder Woman 3, and that's the most important party, is the actual production company, right? If the actual production company wants to spend a lot more money and try to get Wonder Woman 3 off the ground with Patty Jenkins, Gal Gadot, they want to ensure that they're still in the business of doing the next Wonder Woman. They're going to give a little bit of money. And in this case, this actually pertains to another article from the Hollywood Reporter, an extensive article. But basically within that article, it said that in order to get Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins on board with releasing a dual strategy for Wonder Woman 1984, they actually reached out to them and gave them their back-end deals. What that means is they calculated how much Wonder Woman 1984 would have got in the standard normal theatrical release and paid them their amounts, those profits, to them ahead of time. And so Gal and Patty, the reps, said, all right, let's do it. And they announced that Wonder Woman 1984 was going to release to HBO Max, right? Simultaneously with theaters. So that was a done deal prior to the press release of that. However, this means that what about the other movies that were coming out? Warner Bros. Theatrical, HBO Max dual release, there is a big fallout. And this is regards to the Hollywood Reporter did an extensive report on this, and other articles, other sites as well. They each reached out to their their agents or whatever, the publicists, to figure out what's going on, tried to get comments from them, and so on and so forth. But they pulled out Christopher Nolan because he was such a big, he's a big movie director, and he was the first one to try to save the theaters, if you will, with Tenet. Obviously, that didn't happen, and it wasn't that great. The release strategy, anyway, and what happened with that in the box office. But it is COVID. It is a pandemic, so there's a lot of conversation about that. But in any case, this report, extensive, and I'm not going to go through it because you can go ahead and I'll link the description in the link the article in the description below, sorry. But to many insiders, WarnerMedia's blindsiding of talent and their reps with news that it would send 17 films directly to HBO Max in 2021 felt like an insult. So basically, none of these people, Legendary, who owns 75%, or actually, invested 75% into making Godzilla versus Kong, wasn't informed. They weren't informed that Warner Bros. Was going to do this, along with the many agents and reps for multiple actors and actresses for upcoming films, producers and things like that, other arms and things like that. Even some executives weren't informed of this when Warner Bros. Decided to do this decision. So it becomes quite a big of a problem, especially for people like Christopher Nolan, who really wanted to be a part of that conversation. He says Warner Bros. Had an incredible machine for getting filmmakers work out everywhere, both in theaters and in the home, and they are dismantling it as we speak. They don't even understand what they're losing. Their decision makes no economic sense. And even the most casual Wall Street investor can see the difference between disruption and dysfunction. Okay, so obviously he is not happy. There are agents saying that Warner's has made a grave mistake. Never have this many people been this upset with one entity, obviously grabbing a lot of different people who are at a visible dismay at Warner Brothers' decision here. So it comes down to I get it. This is probably going to serve us more than the companies, because as the fans, we get to see it in however we want. If we don't feel safe going to theaters, we can actually watch it on HBO Max. But if we do feel safe to go to theaters, we'll go into the theaters. But what this does has really affected the exhibitors, right? Our initial reaction is like, oh my God, the theaters are going to die. And truth be told, yeah, that could possibly be the case, even though they're saying, look, you can show our movies in theaters. We didn't say it's going to be exclusively HBO Max. No, we're giving that option to the consumers. We're not giving you all the the power per se. And moviegoers aren't really going to watch movies right now. Either they don't feel safe, or theaters aren't open. And so I can see theaters getting mad that they're not having an exclusive window of time to exclusively be shown in theaters before it goes to the digital platform. But at the same time, what are you going to do? Are you going to say no to these movies next year? There's not much catalogs out there. And the theaters kind of have to play ball if they really want Dune in their theaters, if they want Matrix 4 in their theaters, Godzilla vs. Kong in their theaters, the Suicide Squad, and so on and so forth, the big movies. So in a way, WarnerMedia's got that power. But WarnerMedia, I don't know if they thought of this or they knew this was going to happen or not, have become into a predicament with the actual people, the actual creatives, the content creators that are, using you or are being your partners, right? I mean, in this little thing here, where the reps for Margot Robbie, Keanu Reeves, Angelina Jolie, and more are annoyed that they're not treated the same as Gal Gadot, because they are not currently not getting the same back end deal as Gal Gadot right now. And I kind of hate that because it kind of just pushes them towards the forefront of blame, even though at the time, WarnerMedia was only talking about a one-time only release strategy for one movie, which was Wonder Woman 1984. That's when the deal happened, right? So I don't think they should be blamed or they should be saying that, in a negative context, because at that time, Gal and Patty Jenkins didn't know Warner Brothers were going to do this whole 2020, all 17 films to HBO Max deal. Okay, so they really shouldn't. But it is going to be interesting what WarnerMedia does to kind of cooperate or have discussions with all these other actors and actresses and all these production companies and directors themselves who didn't know this was coming down the pipeline, right? They're going to have to talk to them. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's kind of interesting at the same time that Toby Emmerich is being named in this, especially in this Hollywood Reporter article, right? Surprisingly, the brainchild of this decision is actually Warner Brothers COO, Carolyn Blackwood, right? And I talked about Carolyn Blackwood many times that she's probably the one actually doing a lot of these things along with Ann Sarnoff, and they're just using Toby Emmerich in there as the person with the relationships within the industry and actually who are the contacts if anything goes wrong. And it sounds like he's getting a lot of that call right now, a lot of that blame, because they don't know who Carolyn Blackwood and Ann Sarnoff and John Stankey and Jason Keeler. Those are all the essentially AT&T people, right? Those are the AT&T side. They weren't really the movie side, right? So they all went and started calling on Toby Emmerich and yelling at him probably over the weekend. But it is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Okay, so by the weekend following the announcement, this is a Hollywood Reporter article. I'm going back to this. Emmerich was calling important filmmakers with projects set for 2022 to assure them that their movies wouldn't be dropped on the streaming service without warning, as if anyone would believe he had any control over the situation, says one producer with a major Warner property. Toby probably had a really bad weekend, not that I feel bad for him, says one agent. So obviously, Toby Emmerich's getting the heat up the yin yang right now. Even in this article, they decided to even ridicule him further by saying that he was instrumental on trying to lowball the budget on of Todd Phillips' to Joker to discourage director Todd Phillips from making Joker. Okay, so but the filmmaker persisted and sold off half the movie, right? And so it became a culture phenomenon, grossed $1 billion and so on and so forth. But they really, and interestingly enough, in this article, not only do they have Christopher Nolan in there and all these other things in there, but also that they're looking more like they're throwing Toby Emmerich under the bus. So that is quite something, reading this article from Kim Masters of the Hollywood Reporter. And it's such an extensive thing. So I encourage you to read it. It's very eye-opening in certain senses. And it may get you a lot more frustrated and maybe mixed on the feelings of what's happening. Because all in all, this is, to me, in my opinion, a great strategy. A great strategy for Warner Brothers. I think. And it's funny because when another article, they were talking about how they should change the the name of the app to something much more identifiable. So basically, they use HBO, but they didn't put Go in now. They're going to do HBO Max. But of course, remember they needed a production arm just to make movies and series for HBO Max. So they decided to call Warner Max because they borrowed the Warner out of the brothers, right? But then because of COVID, they consolidated the production arms to Warner Brothers, and then now they need a name for the app with Warner in it. So it's with probably is going to go back to Warner Max, or they could do Disney and do a Warner Brothers Plus, but I feel, or Warner Plus, I feel that's kind of interesting enough. But, not everybody thinks this is a bad idea, especially for Warner Bros. Like I said, I think as a company, this is a good idea. And so I want to share Screen Rant. Stephen Colbert, my colleague Screen Colbert, made an excellent article. He says, why Warner Brother movies going straight to HBO Max is a smart strategy. And I will definitely encourage you to read this article as well. It's great to see different sides of the story. The Hollywood Reporter will probably lean more towards Hollywood, what they're thinking, and Steven is looking at it through a business strategy for Warner Brothers. 2021 box office isn't a sure thing. That's true. Vaccines are going out, but I think we won't get the public won't get the vaccines till maybe like middle of the year, maybe even earlier, but essentially not everybody's going to get it right away. So it's still not a sure thing. Streaming revenue surpassed box office before COVID. That's right. So streaming was going up and up and up, and surpassing box office. It was already surpassing box office before COVID. Streaming wars necessitate upfront losses, meaning they have to do a lot of things. It's taken off the Band-Aid pretty much, and just going through with it and also HBO Max is now an essential 2021 streamer because everybody's looking at HBO Max now with a new light. They're seeing, okay, wait, all 17 movies are going to HBO Max. We got to get in on that. In fact, there's a chart that says that HBO Max is now the fastest growing major streaming video service in the United States. Since its launch, it's grown daily active users 242% compared to the other apps that launched around their own, when they launched. So it's obviously growing a lot and much more now, I think, because people realize that we can watch 2021 movies, theatrical movies on HBO Max at the safety of your own home. So obviously, Steve is trying to say that this was already going to happen, and this was already going to happen. It would have happened slowly, maybe, but COVID really accelerated, like I said, and this is inevitable for any streaming service, really. And I think they may be putting this ahead of Disney Plus. I think Disney Plus eventually will do the same strategy, and they want to be the first one out of the gate. I understand that there's some there may be some Disney Plus things that are going to happen this week, and there's going to be some announcements. I don't know if it's going to be a release strategy that's the same, but definitely they're going in this direction. They have to look out for themselves. Unfortunately, that could affect the arts and the content creators, but as a business, they had to make a business decision, and that means to save themselves, really, right? They have to save themselves, and albeit the sacrifices of other companies as well. But as a release strategy, in my opinion, it does make sense to be at Warner Brothers, but it does make it. I'm really leery about the way they went about it by not contacting. They did contact people what they were going to do like 90 minutes, up to 90 minutes before they actually did it. Release saying that they're going to do it in that 2021's dual release with theaters and HBO Max. But I'm wondering if they should have took longer. Maybe talked about it earlier, maybe did some back-end deals. Of course, that's a lot of money to do those back-end deals like they did with Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins. And something to say, it's already December, so they would have gotten it anyway. But it's a sticky situation. I'm really curious what's going to happen with this and down the road, and how it really did affect the film industry and DC movies from here on out. But I wonder how it's going to affect it overall in the years to come. So now within this article, I want to pull up that Stephen Colbert actually mentions something about Zack Snyder's Justice League. And this is kind of put in there, but he did talk about this. And since he mentioned it, he did talk about this on Dave the Film Junkies vodka stream last week, Friday. And we talked a little bit about this, and Dave mentioned it also, that it's possible that now with this whole plan of releasing 17 films, next year, right? Simultaneously, dual release, putting on HBO Max. Well, now that the library of HBO Max is going to be very, not full, but essentially there's filling up these months. It's possible that Zack Snyder's Justice League could now be released as a movie instead of a 4-part miniseries, as a movie, because there are blocks of time with chunks of in within each month that they have to really capture that audience, just like in the theaters, right? When you release on the theaters, you can't have it releasing back to back. These movies are split up between every so many weeks, and the next film is from essentially from the same company, right? So they have to split it up that way. So now that it's going to be done theatrically and on HBO Max, Steven and Dave suggests that the Snyder Cut could possibly come out both maybe in theaters and on HBO Max. Yeah. So I'm going to show you this. Well, actually, I'm going to read you this little segment within the Screen Rant article. Okay, so of course, there's Gotham Police Show, Green Lantern, Peacemaker, and more coming from DC, along with more Game of Thrones, a la Dune show, and more. But unfortunately, much of HBO Max's original content is still away from release. More immediately, Zack Snyder's Justice League has been hyped as a major draw to the platform after the buzz and drama surrounding that project for the last 3 years. Part of the appeal of something like Zack Snyder's Justice League is the fact that it's a mostly unseen, high production value project and could be released ASAP with a modest investment, with the arrangement to split it into episodes helping to fill out HBO Max's release calendar. However, now that HBO Max is injecting 17 brand new theatrical releases into its streaming schedule for 2021, meaning new content is coming around every 3 weeks, it's not even necessary to cut up the Snyder Cut into 4 episodes anymore. And releasing it as a standalone 4-hour movie, which was planned to happen eventually anyway, could make it part of WarnerMedia's dual theatrical plus HBO Max release plans, giving fans a chance to see it on the big screen. And I think that should excite fans, definitely, because fans, we wanted to see Zack Snyder's Justice League in theaters that first time around, right? And seeing that if they are doing this for 17 other films, this one's pretty much done, it could stand to reason that they could possibly release it in theaters or even on HBO Max, right? Well, it will release on HBO Max, but an entire film, 4 hours straight. And I think we talked about this in Dave the Film Junkies show, and I thought that was interesting to pull up. And since Stephen also wrote it as well on this article, so imagine that it could definitely come out as a movie, quicker than we expected it to be. So I hope that happens. It may be because then people will, for people who didn't want to wait for the whole 4 episodes before even tackling it, I think this gives you a chance to watch it completely and get that going, especially for people who couldn't wait for this but wanted to see it all at a single time. So I don't know. We'll see what happens when Zack Snyder's Justice League releases in 2021. But there's one thing that we can be sure of, and that is that this decision essentially was for the fans. Jason Kilar himself says that WarnerMedia cares more for the fans, the consumers. We are the consumers. We are the customers. This one is for the fans. And to even solidify that even further, when Jason Kilar talked about the critics saying great things about Wonder Woman 1984, Jeffrey Warfield here, I want to pull out, says, "I'm sorry, but I don't care what critics think. It is more fun to look at the fan perspective." And look at who liked that. Jason Kilar liked that himself. He liked that comment. So it really solidifies this part. This one is for the fans. He cares more about the fans. He cares more about the consumers than any other party, because the consumers are the ones that drive the engagement, they drive the profits, and ultimately give them the business. So that is certainly a different change. Now, I think this also spells what the kind of content that is provided to us, at the same time how it's provided to us. So factor that into this entire controversy between the content creators, between the the actors and actresses, the companies themselves, the exhibitors, and ultimately WarnerMedia, and also the fans as well. It is an interesting conversation, an interesting controversy, and will likely, definitely, already has changed the film industry as a whole. All right. Well, now let's get into the Ping Pong Flix members' questions. The first comment is from Zach P. Forget CCXP. Jim Carrey. Chris, when I asked you about cameos the other night, this one never crossed my mind for some reason. Me neither. That really did not cross my mind. Like, honestly, I was thinking about the heroes, right? We were all thinking about the heroes, but we never thought about the villains. And Jim Carrey is quite the eccentric Riddler villain, and it could work out. It definitely could work out. Eric Blake, Hardboy Entertainment. Imagine what the Snyderverse comics, Earth 27, I say, could look like. Dan Jurgens doing the Man of Steel adaptation for the Snyderverse, and then going on to do the Superman-centric expansions. Scott Snyder, when he's available to do it, doing the Batflick Films comic and all Batflick expansions. Grant Morrison doing the Flash stuff. Joel Jones doing Wonder Woman. Who else would be perfect to take part? Personally, I'd love to see Christopher Priest doing something for the Snyderverse, whether Cyborg or otherwise. Grant Morrison doing the Flash stuff would be interesting, because Grant Morrison worked with Ezra Miller on trying to do the Flash stuff before they dropped that out. So I wonder what his take was. Eric Blake, gotta say, John Cena's Peacemaker sitting there with the food he's sick and tired of looks like he's thinking it's a joke. It's all a joke. Mother, forgive me. Explanation: the Peacemaker character was a direct inspiration for Alan Moore's creation of the comedian for Watchmen. Oh, really? I didn't know that. Jonathan Mueller, well, the big question is, why to expand the Snyderverse into comics if it was supposed to continue on movies, right? Fear. So, and the answer to that is, essentially, I don't think they are. What I mean by expand is that it's like added stories to the existing Snyderverse continuity, which essentially is Man of Steel, BVS, and the Justice League, arcs. I think it's in a added things like, oh, what happened with this character? Like I said, like things like Martian Manhunter, how did he come down here? The prequel comic to Man of Steel, maybe, Supergirl, maybe added stuff for Hal Jordan or John Stewart, whoever he picks for Green Lantern. I think it's like that. It's not essentially, like I said on the video, it doesn't mean that they're going to make Justice League the sequels into comics. No, that's not what I meant at all. I think those will still be live action, and it'll still come out the way it was intended. And what they're thinking is probably expanding, or even adapting that into comics, right? So imagine if Justice League 2 came out and they wanted to adapt that to a comic, they could do that as well, in addition to the actual live action, is what I'm trying to say. So a few more weeks, then we'll get to see if Grace was correct about Wonder Woman 84 being a DC reshaping pseudo Flashpoint reboot. And I think she already said that she was wrong. I thought she said she was wrong on that, but I don't think that's happening at all. I think the Flashpoint thing is definitely going to be in the Flash movie, which makes a lot more sense. Mr. Stokes, I personally think the Snyderverse will continue in live action. Me too. And they'll put their best foot forward after Zack Snyder's Justice League is released in a few months. Seeing public reactions and how much hype it generates, so it's down to us fans to keep the ship afloat. Don't that sound good, guys? A few months. The Flash movie continues to turn and twist as anything is possible, and I'm looking forward to the ride, as I guaranteed all the people who will think they know how the film will unfold will be surprised. crazy, but I like crazy. I just covered The Dark Knight Returns Part 2 on my channel. So Chris and the rest of my DC family, please check that out. Mr. Stokes. All right. Yeah. Check out Mr. Stokes' channel, if you will, if you want to. Also, those reactions sound like a Marvel MCU movie. Okay, so I think he's in Big Rooster is talking about in regards to those reactions. Sound terrible. So I think those he's talking about the reactions to Wonder Woman 1984. Like I said, those are just critics' reactions. If you want, I always say whatever they say, please go and watch it for yourself to determine what you feel about it, because the only reaction, the only review that should really absolutely matter to you is your own. So definitely can't wait to check it out and find out for myself how I react and how I review Wonder Woman 1984. I'm interested in my own opinion, as you should be interested in your own opinion as well. So that is that. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, if you absolutely love this daily dose of decent content in movies, shows, and video games, please click the like button, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, keep this hot dog light on, grab a t-shirt down Teespring down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.